here's Brody Brazil.
All right, I'm here to run you through my top 5 Major League ballparks, and in all fairness, I didn't feel it was reasonable to judge ones I haven't been to. So these are only a list of ballparks I visited. By the way, I have seen a majority of them in person, but not all of them. So that kind of makes the intrigue here to wonder if I omit something that you think I should have had, did I just not like it? Or have I actually not been there? So I'm going to run through this list. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, and I'm going to put them up here on the screen. Do a little Google fly-through of the ballpark, talk about what I like about it, how it fits in the town, everything. It's not just maybe the team or the city or the stadium itself. This is a measure of everything I'm putting together here. So let's dive in. And my first one, and by the way, in no particular order, is Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And what's crazy about this, a ballpark that's been around since the early 90s, I mean, this was the model that pretty much everything else followed for the next 30 years. They're still making ballparks copying Oriole Park at Camden Yards. It was the first of its kind, the throwback style. Look how it sits here, right in the inner harbor area of Baltimore, close to downtown, close to access. This is an area that definitely needed something like this. And how cool is that warehouse? Just the way that they kept Utah Street intact right there. Look how long that is. I think it's one of the longest buildings on the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken, or if that still is the case. But just very cool how they fit that in there. They made that existing building part of the infrastructure of the ballpark. Got a chance to visit this one a long time ago. Seems like they've kept it up ever since. But to me, Oriole Park at Camden Yards is an absolute classic. How many other ballparks have been the tone setter, like I said, for decades? It has inspired literally half the other parks across Major League Baseball. So Oriole Park is definitely in there. All right, where are we now? We're switching here. Little place called Boston, Massachusetts. There's downtown Boston right over here. And not far away is Fenway Park. And Fenway Park, to me, is on this list for a couple different reasons. I mean, history is one. Design is another. Just aesthetics, the color. I mean, look at that. Look at that color of green. That I don't know what else you would paint that color like in your house, but for whatever reason, and for so many reasons, it works with the Boston Red Sox. Yes, the Green Monster. Yes, dimensions. I mean, this is a unique ballpark. This is one of the two. This and Wrigley, in my opinion, should never, ever, ever come down. And I suppose Dodger Stadium might be in that same category, and they're making it that way with all the improvements. Certainly Dodger Stadium not nearly as old as Fenway Park, but this to me is a historical monument that should never be touched, never be demolished. I will say this, though, if you're sitting like down the third base line here in some of these seats in a day game and the sun is hitting you, and you're sweating, and I mean, there is no room even for your elbows and shoulders. It is uncomfortable. Like, it is an uncomfortable experience for day games. Would not recommend seeing your first Red Sox game. As a day game, you may not like it, but in terms of everything else, visiting Boston, coming out to Fenway Park, get yourself some barbecue out here. The street vendors do a great job at that. Absolutely in the top 5. All right, up next. Now wait a second here. You saw what that was. A lot of you know my dedication and allegiance to the Oakland A's. And I'm throwing the Coliseum out, by the way. I forgot to mention that at the top of this video. You can't consider your home in a best of competition, right? And for me, best of involves memories and sentimental reasons. So I have to give it to AT&T Park, SBC Park, Pac Bell Park. Right now, Oracle Park is what it's called. And look, this location, this neighborhood right here, it's important to recognize this neighborhood was nothing the same 30 years ago and 35 years ago when they were thinking about putting a ballpark here. This neighborhood was totally transformed for the better. And when I say that, they didn't have to really replace anything. This was a barren, empty part of town. It was kind of an eyesore part of town. And now they've made it one of the strongest parts. Literally, the scenes you get here with the Bay Bridge, downtown San Francisco. Look, I know, A's fans, let me just say this. I hope Howard Terminal comes to fruition. It could top something like this with technology and the things we've learned from Oracle Park. But just as for a perfect location, I mean, here's San Francisco. Let me zoom all the way out. There is not a better spot in this 7 by 7 mile by 7 mile quadrant here. There's no better spot that you could put a baseball stadium than right here for a lot of reasons. So Oracle Park for me is a forever location for the San Francisco Giants. And yeah, the fact that you can hit a home run into McCovey Cove, and now that's an interesting thing right there, because since this photograph has been taken, that's a construction site. There's not a lot of parking, and that's an amazing thing about this ballpark. It somehow sustains without parking here in 2020. And it does a pretty good job of it, all things considered. So it is a marvel in a lot of different ways, and I'm definitely putting Oracle Park here in my top 5. I said it before, these are not in any order, and I promise you they're not. But I mean, just look at that location right there. Not in any order, but definitely in my top 5. Now, here's another one that you may not have expected, and to be perfectly honest with you, you're looking at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. A lot of people say, and I agree from visiting this place on a number of occasions, this is a carbon copy of Oracle Park. First off, though, look at the view of downtown, right by the river, the Roberto Clemente Bridge, all the bridges painted that Pittsburgh gold color. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Not only that, when you combine that the football stadium's right there, the hockey arena is right on the other side of the river in the downtown quadrant. I mean, all of this makes for a spectacular experience. You can park downtown, you can visit a restaurant, go to a bar after the game across the way, walk across the bridge. It's very pedestrian friendly. And just look at that location, transit, access. This is not really known, but it's kind of a mountainous area right here. You can get some tremendous views and vantage points. In fact, maybe I can zoom down and show you what that looks like. All the way down, all the way down. Look at that right there. That is a tremendous look right there for downtown Pittsburgh and PNC Park. And they've obviously made this kind of their sports neighborhood, which serves a lot of purposes. Parking is great, easy to get to. So Pittsburgh and PNC Park, maybe a sleeper for a lot of people. You weren't expecting that, but in my top 5. All right, so we've talked about Baltimore, Boston, San Francisco, Pittsburgh. The last one here on my top 5, we're going to downtown San Diego, and it's Petco Park. First off, the overall, San Diego metropolitan, whatever you want to say, region, it's awesome because the airport is right here, downtown is right here, the ballpark is right here, the zoo is not far away, you can visit that, and then there's the Gaslamp District, which is, if I believe correctly, I've only seen it at night, if you know what I mean, kind of in this area right here. You can go out after the game or beforehand, a lot of bars, a lot of nightlife, but Petco Park, for aesthetic reasons, this kind of falls into the old-time ballpark a little bit because they kept that warehouse, which is really cool. Look at the brand new huge scoreboard, but they also now have such a modern environment with some of these high-rises and apartment buildings and condos out in center field, but also like the fact that there's so much white paint here in this place, which is very California, and it's not like old traditional ballpark. So in a sense, it's got the old ballpark feel with kind of a modern twist and edge. And again, for all the obvious reasons too, Coronado's right over there. I mean, this is, I think I have that right. This is just a perfect place to visit. And I think that's probably why I'm putting it in my top 5 ballparks. Again, it's not just the stadium, it's what surrounds it. And I think, is there a sand area out here somewhere? Kind of like a beach volleyball setup? I don't know if I'm not seeing it here in the moment. I don't want to waste too much time, but it's like they were preparing for the All-Star game when this imagery was taken. But Pittsburgh definitely on my list. So is San Diego as the last 2 I'm mentioning, but certainly overall in the top 5. Okay, so that leaves me with a couple more, and I am going to do some honorable mentions here. that I think are important. Also places that, I have visited before and definitely I need to mention because it's hard to narrow it down to just 5. So let me get to what used to be Safeco Field. Now is it T-Mobile Park in Seattle? Changed sponsorships. And yeah, this is a domed stadium, or it can be a domed stadium. And the thing about it though is when you're inside it, when the roof is shut, and I've been inside when it's shut, you don't feel like you're totally indoors. And by the way, the Kingdome used to be over here. That definitely felt like you were indoors. That felt like you were in a closet with no windows and just dark, dingy, all of the above. T-Mobile Park, again, it has to be climate controlled for rain reasons and cold reasons. So like this will keep you dry and a little bit warmer, but it just doesn't feel like that because when this roof shuts, all this left field area is wide open. And even in right field here, it's a bit porous. So you don't feel like you're completely enclosed. Just look at the location. I mean, the area itself surrounded by waterways, mountains are off in the distance. Mount Rainier, you can see that on a clear, often day. So, I mean, Seattle for me, again, it's everything. It's not just the ballpark. It's where it sits here, south of downtown. That area has got revitalized with the Seahawks moving in to CenturyLink Field. The Sounders soccer team plays there too. This is definitely part of ones that I do have to put in my honorable mention. The next one that I'm going to mention here is crazy because, I mean, you saw me put in Fenway Park, and I told you Fenway and Wrigley are the 2 that should never come down. But Wrigley did not make my top 5, and I'm not being disrespectful, I promise. I love the place. I love the improvements. I love what they've done, even across the street in right and in left field by enhancing the seating and putting up new scoreboards. They've modernized the place to a classy degree. But I have to mention this because, by the way, look at this north side of Chicago here. This is in a neighborhood. How many ballparks are just look at? Houses. Oh, Major League Baseball park. How many stadiums have it like this? Not a lot, which I think is really cool. I don't know exactly where it is, but the Cubby Bear Lounge is around here somewhere. This neighborhood absolutely buzzes for Cubs games. And did I say before, how do ballparks do it with no parking? You see any parking lots around here? Not exactly. So I really don't know how they do that. But yeah, downtown Chicago is right over here. I'm zooming way out to show you that. But you head north up here to Wrigley Field, and yeah, history is a part of this. The fact that they kept this place original and didn't even play night games until recent decades is pretty crazy. The ivy on the fence, the fact that they are brick walls out there, not padded. I don't know what exceptions they got, but certainly they have them. And I think it's Waveland and Sheffield. Those are the streets in right and left field here. And the fact that those are bleachers right there on buildings across the street where you can watch games. And yeah, they've touched up the place, video boards here and across the way in left field. The last time I was here, none of that was intact. There was not even a video replay screen. You go to the game and want to watch a replay of something amazing that just happened, you couldn't even do it. Now, that's not knocking it. I'm just saying that's how cool and traditional it was. So this is in my list. This is in my honorable mentions, but unfortunately for Wrigley, not officially in the top 5. And I guess keeping it on the, historic theme for the final one here, I'm actually going to take you back to a monument in Southern California, Dodger Stadium. And by the way, just look at the setting of this. Now, I can only get so low here, but it kind of gives you an idea of the view you get if you stand in the top row here behind home plate. What you see is downtown Los Angeles, and eventually the Pacific Ocean is out there too. But sits up here on a hill, and I think what's crazy about Dodger Stadium is relatively untouched. Now, they did make a ton of improvements out here in center field. They were supposed to host the 2020 All-Star Game. Didn't happen. And so they put a ton of money and effort into the place to upgrade it, and I can't wait to see what that looks like in person. But even before all that, Dodger Stadium reminds me of Disneyland in that it doesn't change in a very good way. And every time you're there, super clean, well kept, fresh coat of paint. You know, it shows its age. Don't get me wrong. And those colors, by the way, which apparently are supposed to match, you know, colors of California with the sea and the brown of hills. And you have to read a little bit more into that. But I love the color scheme. I love those scoreboards, the way they're shaped. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 6 sides. Is that a hexagon? Do I have that right? Not an octagon. It's got to be a hexagon. But those are so cool. It just, you know, the view you get as you are in the stadium and looking out at the mountains across the way. Dodger Stadium to me is it's hard for me to put in the top 5 based on what some other ballparks have done. But it's close. It's in the honorable mention category for sure. So tell me what you think of my top 5. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why? Why not? What did I miss? What do you think should be on the list? Simple as that. So thanks for joining me on this video, and I will talk to you next time.